What's going on, you guys? Slim here on my boy Rogue Heroes channel, here to bring you guys a Mech Knight Invoke deck profile for the October 2020 format. Shout out to my boy Chris. He's an OG like I am. We've been playing the game forever. I was recently on his latest podcast. Hopefully you guys caught it. It was the Podcast and Chill number 4. My name is Slim, and of course I'm here to give you guys the profile of the deck that I love the most, and currently it is Mech Knight Invoke. If you visit my channel, I'm sure there's a link in the description below. You'll see that I really emphasize a lot on Alistair, Mech Knight Invoked, anything pretty much with Alistair or with Mech Knights and stuff, and it's just a really favorite deck of mine. Chris plays a lot of rogue decks, especially heroes. To me, this is a rogue deck because it never gets enough attention, and I feel that sucks. Going second decks are amazing. They really can just capitalize on what the opponent's doing, break the board, and just totally, just break their board and make it to where they can't even come back, and I think this deck really exemplifies that. I'll show you guys the build that I'm working on right now. I think that, there was a lot of changes I've made over the formats due to what the best decks are, and I think this is the best list that I can come up with. Hopefully you guys do enjoy. Be sure to smash that like button for my boy Chris. You guys already know we're trying to get him to 20k. He definitely deserves it, so hopefully you guys do enjoy this deck profile. If you have any questions, definitely come over, put them in the comment section, or to come over to my channel and ask me directly, but we'll get into it. So if anyone's unfamiliar with a lot of these cards, a lot of them should look familiar if you've seen Mech Knight Invoke deck list before, but of course we got 3 copies of Alistair the Invoker. This is probably my favorite card in the game, and has been for a really long time. 1 card Makaba, it's just insane. Any deck that can utilize a 1 card engine is like some of the best engines in my opinion, and while this deck doesn't want to go first, if you are forced to go first and you open Alistair, you can at least get to a Makaba, which I think is still very strong in this format. So of course triple copies of Alistair. For the Mech Knights, I don't play a lot of them, but I play the ones that I feel that are essential. I feel 3 purple Nightfall is definitely essential. This is the best Mech Knight. It's a new school wind-up rabbit. For those of you that played wind-ups back in the day, it banishes itself, searches a Mech Knight as during either player's turn. Card is very strong. It's 2500. Mech Knights are just very easy to summon. 2 cards in the same column. You just special them in case anyone isn't familiar with that. We play 2 copies of Blue Sky. This is your one that searches up to the number of cards in the column. Sometimes you can get lucky and search 2. Normally you're just searching 1, but it's fine. It's extra bodies on the board. It's extra resources in your hand, and it's very strong. And the last Mech Knight I play is the 1 copy of Indigo Eclipse. I know some people play more Mech Knights, but in this particular build, I chose to just keep this lineup. For me, this has always been the lineup I've played. Whenever I default the deck, I usually start with these 5 Mech Knights, and then if I need more, I add them as necessary. But to me, this is the most consistent lineup. You're not bogging down with Mech Knights, and you're still doing everything you need to do with the deck. So these cards are great. They're just free bodies, additional extenders. They really help you just push through your opponent's back row, push through your opponent's hand traps, and just OTK the opponent with brute force. And then to me, this is a Mech Knight, and this is probably the best side deck card, if not main deck card in the game. Pank is ridiculous. There's no denying it. Like going second, of course, there's no reason not to play this card. You can break boards with it. You can bait out like 2 cards with it every time. I feel like Pank always baits out 2 cards, which is ridiculous. You're always getting a plus off of it, and these card is just amazing. Like, I feel every deck should have that. If it's not in your main deck, it has to be in your side deck. I am playing the 1 copy of Trickstar Korribane along with the 1 copy of Light Stage. This is to turbo out Verde Anaconda. We are playing Dragoon in this deck because this deck really utilizes playing Dragoon because you're able to break boards so easily and then slap a Dragoon to break what's left of the board and win through its effect. It's pretty crazy. Korribane is awesome because you just go Trickstar Light Stage, activate Light Stage, get Korribane, lock a back row with Light Stage, and then special Korribane, and then you can use this to, with Alistair or anything to make your Verde Anaconda, and then just continue doing your plays with Mech Knights before you activate the effect to send Red Eyes Fusion. So this card really helps a lot. It's also a light for Makaba, which does come up. It's the same with the Mech Knights. The elements really do matter. And then in order to play the Dragoon package, of course, you have to play the Dark Magician and the Red Eyes. Now a lot of people will say these are bricks. While technically that is true, the beauty of Red Eyes Fusion, similar to some other fusion cards, is that you are able to use cards in your hand. So even if you do draw them, you are still able to utilize them. Even if they're not great in your hand, you can still utilize them to summon Dragoon at some point in the game. So their engine requirements, whether you like them or not, you have to play them. So that's why they're there. And then onto the hand traps, and this was the biggest change. If you've seen a lot of my profiles for Mech Knights, you'll see that the hand traps have always changed, and they constantly change because of the format. And there are cards that I had to cut because I felt they just weren't powerful enough. Like, I personally do not run Ash Blossom. The reason why I'm not running Ash Blossom, it's not high impact enough to go 1-for-1 on an exchange with the opponent. Decks like Dragon Link, decks like Infernoble Knights, they laugh at you if you just do a simple 1-for-1 exchange, because all they need to do is just continue going. They have a bunch of extenders. So what I chose to do is play what I feel are the most impactful hand traps. So I am playing the Gamma Driver package. This is hand trap number 1. I feel this is one of the most impactful ones because not only does it negate the card, it also gets it off the board. That's extremely important. Now, I know Ghost Ogre is a good alternative to get a card off the board. However, it does not negate the effect. What I like about Gamma Driver is it does actually do that, and that's super important. We're also playing a spell card in our deck that makes it to where even the other Gammas serve a purpose in this deck. So I feel this is definitely one of the best hand traps. Of course, the next one is Triple Nibiru. You guys should already know. You just hope to get this off against the decks that overextend. Dragon Link can walk into it. Infernoble Knight can walk into it if they don't get it with Smoke Grenade. It just really depends. Like, sometimes you can open multiple, and if you multiple hand trap these decks, they do stop. My whole goal with this particular build is to end my opponent's turn, and I feel that this hand trap selection is what has been able to do that. And my personal favorite hand trap right now is triple copies of Droll and Lockbird. I feel we are in a Droll and Lockbird format. I was talking to Chris about this, that I think that Droll is so strong it just ends the opponent's turn, and what you want to do with this deck is end the opponent's turn, make it to where they've only committed like 1 or 2 cards, and then create your column, summon your Mech Knights, and OTK them. Droll ends the turn, Gamma can end the turn, Nibiru can end the turn. I think they're extremely important. Then the last hand trap I do play as an actual trap is Triple Impermanent. So out of all the other hand traps, this was the next best one in my opinion. I felt that Imperm was so strong because you could draw it as your 6th card, and you could actually turn something off, so that is very strong, and that's why I chose to play it. It also makes it to where if you notice with these hand traps, outside of Gamma, the other ones cannot lose to Triple Tactic Talents, so that's another reason why I played these cards. They don't negate anything outside of, you know, impermanence, but you can't triple tactics impermanence, so this makes it to where if your opponent is playing tactics, 9 times out of 10 they're not going to get it off unless you gammed them. So I felt that this hand trap lineup was essential for this deck, and it's why the deck, in my opinion, is so strong, because we're ending the opponent's turn and then just capitalizing on their mediocre board that was built. So that's it for the monsters and the hand traps. Onto the spells. Very basic stuff. I do play triple meltdown and 2 copies of Invocation. Now I'm going to let you guys know, as you guys can probably already tell, this is not a budget deck. You know, there are budget alternatives to some of these cards. Most people would play Pot of Desires, and if you are going to play Pot of Desires, you would have to up Invocation to 3. But for this list, I am playing Triple Tactic Talents. I feel this is one of the best cards in the game. There's no denying how powerful this card is. Has 3 amazing effects. Can literally just draw you cards, take a Dragoon when it negates something, or it can take a card out of the opponent's hand. There's no substitute for this card in my opinion. Now, I said if you are on a budget, of course, which I know a lot of players are, you can play Desires just to up your consistency, but in that sense, just bump Invocation to 3, just so you don't have that risk of banishing them all and then not being able to play your Alistair package. And then what I added to the deck last minute, and the deck count is 42, it's because of this. Now, this is not essential. You don't have to play this if you don't want to, but the reason why I chose to put this in the deck is it's a dual purpose card. We aren't playing cards like Dark Ruler no more in this deck. It is a card, of course, that could be your alternative to this for a budget alternative. The thing with droplets is if we're forced to go first, we can also set this card after making a Macabre if we're fortunate enough to open Alistair, and then this gives us another form of interruption on our opponent's turn. And then obviously, being a going second deck, this just blanket turns off the board and you're good to go. So that's why we chose to play it in the deck. Like I said, it brings the deck count to 42. Again, you don't even have to play it if you don't want to, but if you are going to play it, you can play 2 copies of it, or you can play 2 copies of Dark Ruler no more, depending on your budget. But the card has been very strong. It's definitely, along with Tactics, some of the best cards to come out recently in the game. And then I just have a lot of 1-ups. Duster, it's our only spell and trap removal in the main deck, but it's really all you need. It's a blowout. It also, you can set it, you know, make a column. It's really, really strong. The card that was added to the deck that really gave the deck extra, like an extra boost, was the Emergency Teleport, because it allows us to summon Gamma from the deck or our hand. So even if we do Gamma Driver our opponent at some point in the game, and we do banish the driver per its effect, we can still teleport out the other copies of Gamma, and we can use that to link climb into Verde or into other link monsters to win the game. This card was very strong, and it was a card I had not played before in the deck, and it kind of blew my mind because I forgot, I couldn't remember why I wouldn't play this card, and it was just so strong. It really adds a lot to the deck, and I highly suggest if you're playing Gamma that you also play Teleport. And then of course I got the Light Stage. I already talked about that. It's to get the Corbane, also locks the back row, very strong. 1 copy of Mind Control. It's my favorite spell card in the game. We're literally a going second deck. This card is amazing. Baits negates, and if it doesn't bait and negate and it just takes something, you just link away and just go off. And then Terraforming, of course, because it's our other copy of Meltdown. You want as many copies as possible. And then the last card is the 1 Red Eyes Fusion. I feel you don't need more in this deck. You're just going to do it off of Verde. If you hard draw it, you activate it. If it gets stopped, oh well, you just play the rest of your deck. And I feel that there's no reason to add more copies of a card that I don't want to see. You know, it's bad enough I have to play the vanillas, but, you know, 3 cards, 3 bricks, I mean, you know, we'll take our chances. But overall, this list has been very strong. And like I said, it's 42 cards in the main deck. Now the extra deck real quick. Very standard extra deck for Mech Knight Invoke. People have seen the list before. 2 copies of Makaba, the 1 Purgatrio, and the 1 Agodius. These are the Invoke monsters. They're all essential. They all come up. Purgatrio, people are wondering how you can do it. Obviously, you can do it off of your All Mirage against the fire. You can also do it if your opponent Ash Blossoms you or against Infernoble Knights with all the fires. It doesn't come up as much, but I still wanted to have it in the deck because you'll have this situation where you can just steal a game with Purgatrio. Agodius is insane, helps you OTK, and Makaba is obviously the best fusion in our deck next to Dragoon. Of course, Dragoon, this card should never have been printed. This card is ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Breaking their board and then having a Dragoon on board afterwards. If you don't win at that point, I mean, I don't see how they come back. The 1 card Makaba play, everyone should know. You go All Mirage, Secure Guard, and Invocation. You get to your, with this and the Alistair, it helps you get to Makaba. For the Link 2s, I've got Alistair the Link, Verte, Cross Sheep, and Nightmare Phoenix. These are just the generic Link 2s. The reason I played the Invoker of Madness is because its name is Alistair while on the field or in the graveyard. So even if you don't get to Alistair, but you get to like a Mech Knight and something else and you are able to make this, it makes your Invocation live where it wouldn't be live in case you did, for some reason, did not get to Alistair the Invoker. But it's just another option. You don't have to play it. You can always cut it for something else if you don't find it to be that important. Verde, obviously broken to make Dragoon. Cross Sheep is really strong in this deck, helps us link climb and OTK the opponent because we are playing Access Code Talker. The Nightmare Phoenix is just a good generic back row removal, which is pretty standard, I think, in every deck. And then Unicorn and the Blackluster Link for the Link 3s. Unicorn, obvious, it just helps you link climb, helps you go in Access Code Talker. And then this is one of my personal favorite links to play in the deck. It literally just, it's so hard for the opponent to out. You have so many big monsters in this deck, it's very easy to make this card with a level 7 or higher. And then a lot of trap decks struggle against this card, and a lot of players, if they don't have an out to this card, you can win off this card alone, and its effects are crazy. So it's definitely an essential card, I feel, in this deck. And then the Access Code Talker, already mentioned, helps you OTK very easily. We played over Boral Sword. And then I am playing the 1 copy of Cyber Dragon Nova. The main reason is because I still respect the Dogmatica matchup, and I feel that by playing this card, if they do use their effects, if they do use Maximus against me and I can send Nova, I can then summon one of my copies of Makaba and interrupt them. So I really like this card. But that's a deck, you guys. Again, shout out to Chris for having me on the channel. I really do appreciate it, bro. Hopefully you guys will come check out my channel. It's SlimYGO. I'm sure there's a link in the description below. Definitely continue to support my boy Chris and let me know what you think of his content. I really do enjoy his hero deck profiles and everything else he does do over here on his channel, and hopefully you guys do enjoy it as well. We're gonna get my boy to 20K, that's the goal. But if you guys have any questions about Mech Knights or Mech Knight Invoke in general, just definitely hit me up in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think of the deck, any alternatives you'd like to see, or anything you've been trying that maybe I didn't mention. But again, thank you for having me on the channel. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.